Hello everyone, welcome again to today's Investor. Today's very exciting because we have the privileged opportunity to be with Jeannette Olivo Palafos, and she is someone of high impact here in the San Antonio area. She's not only a real estate investor, but she's also a real estate wholesaler as well, and she's highly involved in the real estate community from a real estate standpoint, but also from a business standpoint. I just want to say welcome. Welcome, Jeannette.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad that you're here. So, just so we have everyone here and they know a little bit about you, tell me a little bit about your story, where you're from, and those type of things.
Born and raised here from San Antonio. I don't travel too much, but hopefully that's going to change in the future.
You love it here so much, you don't
that
mind
we're staying.
going
And my husband's the same way. We're both staying. We love it. Family, all our families here. We're not separated, but staying here and loving it.
Excellent. So, you love San Antonio. What is it about San Antonio that you enjoy so much?
Probably because it's my backyard. It's the only place I really know, and just grown to appreciate all the historical part of it. Family's here, so I don't have to worry about I have to drive so far to see my mother, family.
That's
around
a big part.
Big part.
And I imagine the food, can't go wrong with the food here in San Antonio.
Oh, yes, but it's always the smaller restaurants are the best.
Oh,
my
yeah,
husband knows all the good spots.
knows.
Yes, those are the ones. Those are the
Okay,
best.
well, I'm a big fan of San Antonio too, and I know you are doing some pretty unique things here in San Antonio in the real estate realm, but I know there's a little bit of a story that leads up to real estate. So what were you doing before real estate?
Well, so I jumped right into UTSA. I went to school there. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I changed my major about 3 times. Then I decided, okay, I need to get focused on finding a great job when I graduated. So I picked human resource management.
So you were changing your major because you were trying to find the right fit for you? There was a lot of intrigue that you had?
I knew I wanted to be successful at something. I knew I wanted to work somewhere. I mean, to me, being successful is being in a great corporation where they're gonna, move you up that ladder, and then you get paid really well, and then you have great vacation. So I didn't know what I wanted to be. I knew the first thing I wanted to do was RN, thinking, okay, work 3 days out of the week, you get paid really good.
Sure.
But did I really like being in medical? Not so much. So I switched it to accounting. Then from accounting,
So you went from medical to accounting. I think that's like two different
I
ends of the
really was
spectrum.
confused. And in accounting, I just knew, okay, business. I really like business. So I knew medical without the question. I went to accounting. I loved accounting, but I loved the homework part. I didn't really want to be stuck behind a cubicle.
So you actually liked the homework?
Yeah, I did.
Wow, okay.
I did. I'm not great at my financing,
Sure.
but I liked it as I was going through the lower levels. But then here came, I changed it to human resource management because it was more working with people, learning more, hiring, just hearing about their background. It was just more people friendly in their face.
So it sounds like, and something I've noticed in just knowing you, that you are a people person. So you kind of always knew that you wanted something involved where you're interacting with others and helping others?
I think I realized that when I first, in high school. My first job was telemarketing.
Oh, really?
Oh, it was Olin Mills telemarketing.
That's a tough first job.
And I breezed right through it, but I realized after 3 months, I would always, every month I got a reward for how many sales I was doing cold calls. And a lot of people were leaving the job, and not many people could meet the quota. So I didn't realize that I was doing good.
But that came natural to you?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Just because you're always really good with people and talking and everything?
But I didn't realize that it was good because I wasn't comparing myself to the other employees until they would put a plaque on the wall saying, Jeannette met her 10 sales this week.
Until they were handing you trophies and such,
Yeah, it was 10 sales per week. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm okay. And then I got a cold call, and the other gentleman on the phone was like, you're really good, but you need to slow down. And I guess I talk fast. Well, he kind of gave me some clues and
some feedback.
Yes, and then I started realizing, okay, I guess I'm good at it. But I ended up leaving because I ended up choosing the restaurant business. I was only there for about 6 months. I didn't really just want to be on the phone. I want to be in front of people.
Right, where you're really interacting with them fully.
So I got 2 jobs. I worked at Sorghum and Stockade, which is a restaurant buffet steak, and I worked at Sonic through the whole summer before my senior year. But that just tells you that I was more people person. And then even at my Sonic job, they gave me a award for being, I don't know, best car hop, something like that, because they would have some secret employers or some people of the business come and do a, they
Like
would
an
order
evaluation?
something, yeah, and
Yeah.
we wouldn't know.
Yeah.
So I got rewarded for that. And then my husband, when I met him, he's the quiet type. He
So you're the boisterous one, and he's the more
Yes.
reserved one.
yeah, so we'll be in
So
a public
perfect
place.
team.
Yeah, we're in a public place, and he's like, shh. But I mean, he loves me, so I mean, but just I think I realized then I was outgoing and people person. I have to be around people. So I went straight into UTSA to find. Well, that's when I transferred. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do in my degree. So when I transferred, I had to pick. So from Palo Alto College, I had to pick something. I went to UTSA. I was with HR, but I was more driven to not pursue HR, but to successfully complete my degree.
Yes.
So I wasn't doing too many internships. I was just like, I'm gonna graduate. I'm gonna get this done. Even if I get a C here, I'm gonna get it because there were some tough teachers.
Gonna make it happen.
Yeah, I did, and I made a goal for myself, and I did. I got one internship at a Toyota manufacturing with the HR. It didn't last long, but I was only there for one time. Then I graduated in December of 2008.
All right.
You remember 2008,
Yeah.
December? No work. No
No.
work. I was getting
Talk about bad timing.
a bad time. I was so excited. So then my husband was and he's in contracting. He's a contractor. So the economy with him, oh my gosh, he was set back a lot.
So it was a hard time.
Yeah, so
But tell me about, so you graduated. Obviously, you went through a lot to get to graduation because you were changing your majors. You were trying to figure out what worked for you. You know,
Yes.
you were talking about how there were some tough teachers, but you did what you did to make it happen. How did it feel to graduate and accomplish that?
it was the peaceful, most exciting day. It was like
Yeah.
euphoria, peaceful, happy, accomplished. I loved it. My mom, I have photos where she's kissing me in the cheek, and she didn't really do that for photogenic purposes, but it felt good. And I had my daughter, she's 13 now, but she was, I want to say she was 7, and I have good memories where I would take her to class with me. They would allow us to take our kids to class as long as they're quiet, but it felt just watching her there and my kids. I remember looking back at the audience and I saw my daughter waving,
Oh, that's
and I waved the
awesome.
degree when I got it, and I went to go sit in my
That's a
seat.
special moment.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, for her, you said she was 7. That was probably a really
she was
impactful
7.
moment for her too, to be like, wow, look at my mom, and she accomplished something. Maybe.
Well, I hope so, because she has a bad memory, but I'll remind her.
That's right. Here you have photograph proof.
Yeah.
So you can show her, right? That's
Yeah.
awesome. So then you graduated, and then you mentioned that this was 2008. Everybody knows what was
Uh-huh.
going on in 2008. It was a rough time. The economy
Really
was
rough.
not good. So what happened from there?
Well, my wedding, we were gonna be getting married officially. We were together for so many years, and we had my daughter, and we got married in the summer of 2009. And my husband wanted me to, just relax and stay home, and I did. But that was a good year and a half where I stayed home, and then I had my son, and it was just like not for me.
Yeah.
I was itching to go out there and look for work. So what I ended up doing is that my daughter was to the school, which I live in front of, the elementary. I started substituting.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, if I'm going to stay home to be around the children, I just had my son, I'm going to substitute. So
Plus the schedule works pretty well. You can
yes.
go, not all the time, but what works for you. That
Oh
kind
yes,
of thing.
yes. And then so I was still looking for HR positions, but I started realizing I didn't get my foot in unless you knew someone in the company or you had enough experience, internships
okay.
and so on. So it wasn't working. So I figured that's my plan B. So then being a substitute at the school district that I was with my daughter, I ended up being inspired through the superintendent who was my principal, or assistant principal in my middle school years, told me, why don't you just get your teaching certificate? And I said, yeah, you're right. I'm here. It's just,
You're like,
I'm
I might as
focused.
well.
I might as well. But
Yeah.
so I did that. I did go through the courses for my certificate, but I didn't do the test because then my daughter went to middle school and I realized I don't really know if I want to be teaching. I mean, I liked it, but I didn't love it.
Sure.
I wanted just to be around my kids and have the ability of having summers off. So, I mean, I like it, but I didn't love it. So I was
That's-
searching for something I love.
That's awesome that you kind of realized that before you really went down that path, because
Yes.
I feel that a lot of people, they really are constantly trying to find the thing that they can be happy doing, that's going to be something that fulfills them. And I think a lot of people will go down a path for a long time, many years before
just
they
for
realize,
money, yeah.
for money or practicality reasons or security. And then they realize, this isn't for me, but 5 years have passed. But it sounded like you kind of reflected on that before you truly committed to it. And you know what? This still isn't the passion I was looking for.
Yes.
Right? That's awesome. Okay, so what did you do after that?
Well, I mean, I also want to add that I was really grateful that my husband was able to withstand our finances through that whole time. I mean, it wasn't, I mean, we bit our lips a lot because there was a lot of budgeting.
Sure.
But we got through, and then also I live next door to my mom, so she helped out tremendously. So that's the best part I love being about leaving
So
San
the
Antonio.
strong family unit. Mm-hmm. Everybody was there to support you and support one another.
Oh yes, And then my husband, we would always talk about his construction business, how to grow it. And he used to tell me, you know, I want to start building homes, because he worked for a builder, and that's his passion. My husband's passion down is he wants to build homes.
Oh, okay.
So he got a book on real estate, and it's on our bookshelf. And
that's where it's probably started, huh? All right.
And just eyeing that book, it's like, you know, I forgot what it's titled, but something about make $1 million in real estate, or how to be successful in financial freedom. And to this day I haven't read it, but it's on my bookshelf, and I eyed it. Well, being a stay-at-home mom, I was itching to get out there. I mean, I was going through temp agencies to find a good job. I didn't land any because I was kind of scouting, like, what do I really want to do? If I'm going to do anything, I might as well just be substituting. Then I got a connection through a Target. I was in Target, and I was shopping, and this person heard me how I was having difficulty finding my career, like choice of career. He says,
they just kind of overheard you?
They overheard me, and he says, why don't you go, here's my card, email me, send me your resume, we're hiring for HR. He's like, I see your resume, I see you're studying to be a teacher, you're actually on the verge of getting that, and why do you want to be in retail? You're going to have to work weekends, you're going to have to work, you know, late nights with the Black Friday. And so I left it at that. He's like, okay, well, I'm going to set you up for the third interview, but I didn't go.
You didn't go?
No.
You're like, this ain't for me.
He actually told me, give him a call, and he'll also call you. No, give him a call, and then we'll set it up from there. Why didn't give him a call? And I called my husband on the way home, and I said, you know what? It's like an epiphany. I don't think that's what I want. I don't want that. I don't want to be away from my children. I don't want to miss most of their, you know, growing up. So it was either that, teaching, and like, what do I really want to do?
You made a great point that I really want to emphasize on. And I find that a lot of people are in this type of situation where, you know, they're going through life and they're trying all these different arenas, like you were describing your story.
Retail.
Right, the retail, you know, not only your majors, but also the different jobs, the teaching component. And it feels like you finally found real estate, but by you finding real estate, it was really a culmination of you doing some reflection, testing the water in a couple different areas, but really having the internal dialogue, which it even sounds like was initiated by your interviewer in that job, where he was asking you some tough questions, and that really made you think to, like, okay, what do I really want to do? And it seemed like you fine-tuned, and then you found real estate. It was like at the right moment kind of thing.
It was definitely at the right moment, because at that point I was substituting, but then I was more at home with the babies, and that's when I got in. I saw the seminar. I signed up for the seminar, got into the workshop one day, and then I decided, okay, I'm not gonna pay anyone. I'm just gonna. I couldn't even afford my husband to miss work to go with me to the 3-day workshop, so we went to one. We learned a little bit, and we got offered more options of paying out and, you know, exploring boots on ground. But I told my husband, I said, you know what, I'm just gonna go use the hot number that was like a 1-800 number they can call and get some advice, and I'm gonna self-educate myself. So I downloaded the book that Dean Graziosi has, and I threw myself out there. I just, every day on a little tablet that I had, I would read through it, close my door, the kids were playing, and I would do the little activities to tell you to do, you know, like do bandit signs, build your buyer's list, you know, so forth.
So you had, like, you created your own school time in a sense, where you shut yourself off from the world and really try to focus on one topic in bite-sized pieces.
Yeah, I guess I was good at that, because I was, you know, studying is what I love reading. Mm-hmm. So I was a good student, so I just, you know, I focused on that book, doing exactly what it told me to do, and then I just threw myself out there with Ala Moria networking, and I kept going.
So this is a very important point for you, and if you can kind of elaborate on it for me. It sounds like the book was there.
Yes.
The itching idea was there. Your husband had mentioned that he always wanted to
Real
build
estate.
houses. It was kind of there, and you were trying to figure out what can I do moving forward. You eventually heard this workshop. You went to the workshop,
One
but
day.
at one point, like mentally, did you say, okay, I didn't get all the education, I don't know this completely, but I'm going to go all in, I'm going to do that. How did that mental shift happen, and how did you decide that I'm just going to go for it?
Well, I know I wanted to do something, so I studied the book, and then I kept believing in myself. Well, it's just that itch to get into either the corporate world or stay-at-home mom. I didn't want to just be a stay-at-home mom, so let me think. Hold on, I'm trying to think. There was a pivotal point where I was studying it and I was throwing myself out there, and then where we live, we went out one evening and we came home and we had a break-in. Somebody broke into our house, and when I mean, it was a panic alert. I walked in, everything was pretty much taken, and at that point, I knew what I read, I believed in. I knew real estate could work if I threw my efforts out on that. And seeing my kids crying, well, my oldest crying because they took her, tablet and whatnot.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I told my husband, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna push myself more. I'm gonna buy everything that was stolen. I'm gonna get it back. And of course, he's worried about the bills, and he has to come forward with whatever was lost. But that pushed me more. So I studied it. I studied it so much.
So it was a blessing in disguise almost.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a rough situation, but you were like, you know what? Now I really need to
I
make this
really
happen.
wanted
That's
it.
awesome.
After that, I really wanted it. And I remember we had a date night, me and my husband, and he was worried about other things, and the fact that we got broken into, he didn't feel safe. And I remember sitting with him in the restaurant, and I said, don't worry, because I know I can make this work. And his mind is racing. He's talking about stuff. I said, no, what I'm reading, I know I can make it work. How I knew, I just felt it. Mm-hmm. I had a passion for it, especially reading, because I love reading. So he looks at me, he tells me, I just don't see it. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to show you.
So that was probably a driving force
yes.
too, huh?
And mind you, I didn't have other people telling me in life, it works. I read about it. I saw it on internet, but I didn't hear yourself telling me it's gonna work. Believe in it. It's gonna do it.
So you knew it was a reality for others, but you didn't really have the support. But even at that moment, it didn't really matter because internally you believed yourself that you could.
I was ready to the point where
it.
look, I got a degree, I got a certificate, I had job opportunities, but I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom. I'm gonna do something, and if I'm gonna do something, then I'm definitely gonna do this.
Awesome. So let me ask you this. We probably have some people that are watching that have that doubt, that have that fear, especially if let's say they're in a job, or they were at home like you were in your situation, or there's some sort of holdback. There might be some sort of fear. They want to go into the realm of real estate, but there's just something, maybe their family keeps telling them that they can't do it. What would you tell a person that has those doubts, that has those fears, that really wants to, but just needs that extra step? How can they move forward like you did, take that leap of faith?
Well, you first have to be, I realized after all this time, you really have to be passionate about what you want. So, it could have been teaching, and I would have had other people telling me, it's too much, something, you just egging me away from it. But once I found that that's my passion, and I'm going to be around my family, I'm going to make income, I'm going to be my own boss, I don't have to clock in 9 to 5, or have to tell somebody I have to leave because my daughter's sick. That was my passion. That was my why. I'm going to help my husband build a better career, finance and freedom, and be with my kids. That's what drove me. So as long as you find your passion, I think you just really got to believe in yourself.
And what you're doing it for.
Yeah, and trust me, it took me, what, 7, 8, 9 years to figure out what my passion is, which is my family, and, being myself entrepreneur. It took me a while. So as long as you can find your passion and just go, and that's your why. And then a lot of seminars, a lot of gurus tell you have to stick with what your why is. It's really your why. Why are you doing this? What is it for? What is it? Does it wake you up in the morning to get out there and do it? My husband has his why. Our kids are his why, and he loves what he does.
Yeah.
What was my why, and what did I love doing?
Definitely. That's awesome. So, all right. So you took the jump in. You took the plunge. you took the leap of faith, and then you finally said, all right, I want to do it. So you said you start, on a consistent basis,
yes.
you kind of blocked yourself off, you just started studying, trying to learn, increase your skill set. What did that look like initially? Did you find a deal right away? Did it take some time? What did the beginning of your career look like?
After the break-in, I networked a little bit at Alo Maria. The first time, Rick Bozo is a friend of mine. He invited me to go.
So how did you find out about Alo Maria, which is a local networking event?
Yes, I met Rick. Oh, yes. I had a Craigslist ad out there looking for investors, and I started getting them on my list. And so Rick was one of them, and he welcomed me to go to Alo Maria for the first time. I was a little nervous. I didn't know what it was, but I knew I had to be going to one of these. So he got me my foot in. I felt very comfortable. He told me what to expect, and then from there I met more investors, and I put them on my list. But then I was looking for a deal, and I ended up, my husband's friend worker has this vacant home, and I knew I wanted to get it under contract, so I called another person on my list. And long story short, I didn't get that deal under contract, but he wanted me to work with him. He wanted me to work with him, and he wanted me to be his assistant.
Oh, okay.
So kind of like my mentor. But he told me he was going to pay me, I think, 10% off every deal as long as I could help.
And you met him at Alo Maria?
No, he was on my list from
okay.
Craigslist when I added him as a buyer.
Sure.
So, and actually how I found him is because what the book tells me to do, what I was reading, tells you to go onto Google and put cash buyer San Antonio. So his website was on there. And actually that's how I got him as one of my on my buyers list. So he told me he would give me so much, like 10%, and I thought, okay, well, be great to work with him.
Sure.
Because I didn't really want to go into a company where they were gonna
tell you what
to
do, yeah.
and then when we go separate ways, they're gonna tell me on a contract I can't.
Right.
I'm not allowed to do what I threw myself out there to to learn and to
That
do
makes
on my
sense.
own.
So you had a beautiful situation where, with this gentleman, you were able to work with him. He was able to guide you, teach you. You were able to do a deal together. So you were learning, number one, but secondly, you were still being able to get a portion of the pie so that you could continue to move forward and grow as well.
The thing with you have to be aware with when you meet other investors is it sounded all great. I mean, I go in trusting people right away, but his way of doing what I was learning was different from mine. So he told me, I don't want you to remember anything you learn about real estate. I want you to learn exactly how I was doing it. I was really uncomfortable with because I liked helping him as an assistant, but I didn't want to be his friend.
Right.
And do it exactly. But so we collaborated a few times, but there was a point where kind of undermined me. Didn't feel right.
Oh,
so
really?
yes. So just like in I heard your story how you paid someone and you felt like you were scammed.
Yeah.
It didn't work out. So we ended up cutting ties, and it was a blessing in disguise. Because
that's usually how it is.
Yeah. So I felt more having to report to him like it was a boss. It wasn't a partnership.
Sure.
So we're still in good terms, but we cut ties, and then that just gave me more force. Like, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to.
So after that, you really were on your own at that point.
Build this on my own.
Okay. So after you left him, were you, and you really for sure went on your own, were you excited? Were you scared? A little bit of everything?
I was more driven.
More driven.
Yeah.
Seems like anytime there's a setback or something that doesn't go in line with what you want, and you're like, actually, that drives me more.
Don't get me wrong. I really got really hurt, and I told myself, this is where people actually throw in the towel, saying, you know what, this doesn't work. This people are shady. I'm gonna leave this business. It's not right. But I'm my own boss. I don't have to go report to a 9-to-5 job where I'm going to end up having to deal with the people. Even if I worked in an environment where maybe the people didn't, have the great culture and we didn't enjoy each other's company.
Right.
This was better because I don't have to maybe revisit him if
Sure.
we bumped into each other. It would be different.
And you controlled what was happening.
Yes.
You were the one that was orchestrating everything, and not only that, but you're building the relationships with the sellers. You're building the relationships with the buyers, and no, that completely makes sense. So how did it look moving forward from there? Was it I mean, did you learn a lot and then you were able to implement that pretty quickly and the ball started rolling, or was there a lag time? Or
I think how it built more is my husband's support, and I wanted to prove to my husband that believe in me, this really does work. How I knew it, I just had a passion for it. I didn't know if it was really going to be easy. Of course not. But there was times where I would tell my husband, look, I'm going to go look at this house. I have a lead. Will you come with me? Because, I obviously have to walk it. I have to take pictures, and then I have to see if I can get it under contract at a certain amount, and I have buyers that are willing to pay for it. And so he's like, okay, but you can't go alone. But me, I'm hard-headed, so I want to go alone. He's like, no, I'm going to go with you. So there's this one episode where I took him to this property on the east side because I found a Craigslist for rent ad, and the owner was emailing me back and forth saying, I might be a red flag, but he said he was deaf.
Deaf?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So he couldn't, he would have to email back and forth. And so I said, okay, well, can I set up the time to go see? He goes, well, I don't want you to disrupt my renters, my tenants, but go ahead and come at this time. So, well, can I come at this time? He goes, no, come at this time. So I said, okay. He set it up. Me and my husband go, we knock on the door, and the tenant opens the door, and I said, did he tell you I was going to come and see you? He says, no. Kind of complained about the landlord a little bit. I said, okay, well, I just want to take some pictures.
Sure.
Went in, went out, took it to the title. I got it under contract, took it to the title company, and come to find out, that's not even the owner.
Wow.
Now, the title company was like, you know what? Do you realize on all this information we're pulling for you, we're not dealing with the right owner. The person's name, because it was on BCAD. That name was on BCAD. But come to find out it wasn't the right owner, but it freaked me out a bit because somebody set me up at a certain time.
Right.
Knew that their lease was going to be up.
Right.
At some amount of time. So anyways, long story short, I researched who the real owner was. I connected with him in Houston. He had no idea what was going on, but it was a scam on Craigslist. Someone who was trying to get the money fronted to him first for rental purposes, but I was trying to buy it.
That's awesome. Well, you were doing it the way that you needed to by going through a title company and those type of things, and you were able to identify that this was not right and incorrect.
But it was kind of scary. I could see why some, I guess, people are would say that this is a little too much for me.
Sure.
Why am I dealing with this? But
well, there's a big learning curve. That's why those all those gurus and all those education courses do so well, is because there's just so much to learn, and that in itself can be very disheartening and not very encouraging for people that want to get in. But it sounds like for you, which I really love, is that you didn't know everything, but you kept trying. You took the information that you had, that you learned from the book or from different courses, and you implemented that. And maybe it wasn't the right path, but you figured out that, hey, this isn't the right path, so now next time I'm going to do this, or next time I'm going to do this. And your skill set was honed and improved, so then you were becoming better and better along the way.
I was just to the point where I'm going to make this work. Okay.
So tell me this. This is pretty exciting. So you left the gentleman. You're on your own now. Okay. Tell me about your first deal that you actually did. How did you find it? What was the story behind it? Did you sell it pretty quickly? Was it easy? Was it hard? Tell me that.
Well, my first deal was it was through an estate sale. Okay. So his mom had passed away, and it had to be signed between him and his I think 4 brothers and 1 sister.
So you started off with a hard one.
Oh yeah, it was hard. But that one, how did I find that one? Let me see. Oh my goodness, I think I had a bandit sign out. Bandit
signs are effective.
Yeah.
They work.
With the permit.
With a permit, yes.
With the permit. So he ended up calling, and I helped him. But at that point, I wanted to negotiate a little bit lower, but luckily we met in the middle, and it was a little.
So this was the son.
Yes.
And he was your only point of contact, or were you?
No, yeah, he told me it was only going to go through him, not through his brothers.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I went through him. I had it signed right away, and at this point, I was using a 1-page contract. I wasn't doing the traditional Trek form.
So how did you know your numbers? Like, how did you know what number? You said you negotiated and you didn't quite see eye to eye at first.
The book that I read, and then the 1-800 number that they gave us just to keep up.
And they gave you
Yeah.
some guidance. So you
So
utilize what resources
yeah,
you had.
the resources
Okay.
I had.
Awesome.
So yeah, they teach you exactly how to use the ARV, do the comps. I wasn't using MLS.
Okay.
I was using Redfin.
Redfin. Okay.
Yeah. So it's I love
popular.
Redfin because it does. I mean, I do use MLS now, but at that point, I used Redfin, and I still love.
It was
using
good enough to
Redfin.
give you a general idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't know the market that well at that time, but before I did my own first deal, I had helped my partner that I had left with his deals.
So you
So I
already
had
knew the
already
method, the
because
structure,
he was
how it
the
goes.
one under contract, and
Right.
then I had, I helped with the buying, negotiating, and
So you got this. You finally came to agreement. You got under contract. To get clear title, was everyone on the same page, or was
Yes,
that
everybody was on the
okay?
same
So that
page.
makes it a little bit easier.
Yes,
So you
it
got
was.
everyone on the same page. You were able to get clear title. How did you sell it?
well, that one was a difficult one because I sent it to my buyers list, and nobody was really wanting it. There's like you got it at the
At
right
that
price.
time, about how many buyers did you have? Would you say
90.
90? So you had a pretty good buyers list.
Oh, but I got to tell you how I got those buyers.
Okay, tell me.
It's a long story. So yes, I had the Craigslist getting some lists, people emailing me with their name and number. But on that book, it tells you where is a good place for you to go find buyers. The auction. So
Smart.
I remember the first time I went to the auction here in San Antonio. It was
You
in
were
a-
just a go-getter. You did
Yeah.
anything and everything you
yeah, it made my husband a little uncomfortable. Like, what are you doing? Where are you going? What's going on? But
could. You're like, by the way, I'm going to the courthouse next
and
Tuesday.
it's intimidating.
Yeah, it is
It-
intimidating.
it's-
if you don't know what you're doing,
don't-
and yeah.
you don't know what you're doing. I didn't know who to go and talk to or who to introduce myself
even
to.
to find where it's happening is kind of like, where am I going?
It was more intimidating because at this time they had it in a building, not outdoors. Because now they have it outdoors. Before they
Right.
did too, but they had it in a building. So imagine this building with a bunch of people walking around.
And they all
And
seem
I'm
to know what they're
sitting next to you,
doing.
and I want to give you my business card and say, hi, I'm a wholesaler,
Yeah.
Everyone's looking. And so it was intimidating. So I did a few. I did 3, and on my way out, I did another person. It was a couple with a baby, and I gave them my card. I was like, hey, I'm going to have some deals coming up. If you want to buy anything, I can email it to you. And they were like, oh, no, are you with so-and-so? They would name a company. I'm like, no, I'm on my own. Oh, no, we don't want it. And it felt
Really?
like,
They said no?
They said no.
Wow.
And I said, well, here, just in case we can network in the future.
You're like, you don't even know what kind of deals I have. I haven't gotten them yet, but they're great returns.
I got nervous. I was like, I actually still gave it to them.
Yeah.
I was like, well, just take it. Maybe we might see each other again. They're like, okay. They felt uncomfortable probably too, and they just
Sure.
took it. Whew, that was the first time I was there. But the second time when I got to the auction, it was outdoors. I felt more comfortable because
Sure.
you can walk around.
There's a
you
little
kinda
more
scan-
space. Not everyone's looking at each
you
other.
scan each other.
Yeah.
And then the third time I felt more comfortable. And by the fourth time, I ended up having a friend of mine go with me, and she's in real estate too. And
You were a pro by then.
oh yeah, I'm like, come on, let's go.
They
We're
knew
gonna
you.
This is networking.
Yeah.
You give your card out and you
Yeah.
introduce yourself. Some of them will tell you no, but you just have to have your elevator pitch. So,
Right.
I'm a wholesaler here in San Antonio. I come across deals. 50. They might be 50% off what the VCAD has, or
Sure,
what the
sure.
ARV will be.
Knowing what you're going to say before you even have the interaction.
Yeah.
So you said you got a lot of buyers that way. You had just under 100. You had this deal. You initially sent it out. There wasn't that much response.
No,
What happened from there?
wasn't, and then I realized I had to connect with every buyer to get exactly what they're looking for.
That's
And
smart,
then I
yes.
differentiated. Okay, these are renters, landlords. These are flips. These are owner finance. And really, emailing them you're really not going to get a higher response than you calling them
Right.
and asking them, hey, I have this deal. You have to build that relationship. But that deal taught me that. But how I sold it was I went online and got another buyer from a website. And they went in there, saw the same day, and they bought it.
Wow. So by marketing on another
So
website?
just pushing.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't market it. I found them online.
Okay, gotcha.
I found them online that they're another cash buyer that I hadn't had on my list. So it's just like, it's not working. Why aren't they, responding to this email? And then I have a marketing campaign. Get response? It's like
Okay.
a marketing where you blow out, send out an email mass without having to have everybody see. You're sending it to like 90 plus people.
Sure.
So with that, you can see who's opening your emails and who's not. And I realized half of them are not even opening because
Right.
it's going to spam.
Right.
most of them are going to spam. So I just
That's when you started picking up the
pick up
phone.
the phone. You got to get on the phone with them and see what they're looking for, and then you build a relationship, and they're more willing to go look at what you had because you only have it under contract for so long.
So you did some research, you didn't give up, you eventually found somebody, and they went and looked at it and they said, all right, I want this one.
Yes.
Did the closing go smoothly?
Oh yeah, that one did. They were really on it. They were even connecting with me to say, can we get this signed now? Because they didn't say it exactly, but I knew that they didn't want me to go shop it around.
Right.
So I met them at Top Golf.
Hey,
pretty sure
you're like, buy me around, and then we'll sign the contract.
They asked me to join them at Top Golf. I met them in the parking lot. We got it signed. I went to their title company where they preferred, and we closed within, I want to say, 7 days, business days.
Wow. So it sounds like with this deal that there was a lot of hard work involved. You had to find the seller. It was a probate, so you had to deal with probate. You had this list that you've been building for quite some time. You blasted out to that list, no real true response. Then you were calling through those people and still no one that really was solid on the deal. So you had to go look for new buyers, but you eventually found one. So your hard work paid off. Once you found him, it sounds like all the pieces started to click into place, and then they moved forward to a closed deal, which you said went pretty smoothly. When the deal closed, tell me about that. When you actually got the check, what was that day like?
I think I was more excited when I walked down the stairs from the title company, realizing I just dropped off my contract and the assignment.
Yeah.
That was my check in the beginning, because the check came, it got wired actually.
Oh, okay.
So it just was just a realization. It's like, I can do this. I want to show my husband.
It became
I can
real.
Yeah, and it was even real. It became more real then, more excitement that I did on my own, because I saw it being very real when I helped my partner.
Right.
He was making exactly what I read that you can make in real estate. And
He proved concept for you.
yes.
Okay.
And I was his assistant, helping him with mediating the deal, negotiating a little bit, doing the paperwork, getting the emails, and all that. So what I would have done on my own, I did with him, and I saw in the background, I saw how possible it is to, make this as a career in a business.
So you finally proved concept for yourself. You got that check. Then what was your first steps after that? You were like, all right, how can I do 2? How can I do 4?
Well, the next thing was I'm going to go buy my husband some Ray-Ban glasses.
Oh, yeah?
I went to the mall, spurged my kids a little bit.
That's
I bought him
awesome.
some glasses, and it just felt good. I mean,
Right.
of course, my husband would give me, let's go spend money here and there, but just being able to do
He was like, I like this. Yeah. Close some more deals. I need a second set of Ray-Bans.
Then he realized, oh, I do see it's possible.
Tell me a deal that has a unique story. You're kind of mentioning this one on the east side. Tell me a little bit about that one and how you handled that.
Okay, that one, I came across it. I was searching on Craigslist for properties for sale. My son, he calls my husband and says, hey, there's this property next door to, well, he's living with his mom. He's my stepson, but he's definitely my son. He calls and says, there's this property next door to where my mom lives for sale. And so I looked up his street in Craigslist, and I saw this one property for sale, but it wasn't his next door neighbor. So I said, okay, I set up a time. I went to go see this property across the street that's being advertised on Craigslist. And that wasn't a go. I couldn't get to negotiate that. But his neighbor was for sale. So I
So
remember,
you turned in a deal that was dead and traded it in for one that
Yes.
could work.
Yes, and my husband drove around the corner, and I said, well, I'm going to go knock on the door. He was like, okay, well, I'll meet you. Let me park over here. There I am again, like, let me just get up in
Taking
their
action.
face. So the front door isn't there. You could tell that there's nobody inside. So I went through the back to the back garage, knocked on the door. Somebody came out, and I said, is this property for sale? They're like, yeah.
Did it have a sign?
Yeah, it had a sign, but
Oh,
on this, for sale by owner, but nobody looked like they were occupying
Sure,
the front house.
sure.
So I go to the back. I was more persistent. They came out from a apartment complex in the back,
Uh-huh.
and they that's when he told me yes, it was for sale. Story didn't really pan out how he had the right to sell it,
Yeah.
but I still tried to sell it.
I love how you go to the house, You knocked on the door.
Nobody.
Then you knocked on the window. Then you like try to climb through, and you finally got the
And
house
my
and back. And
husband's
you're like,
just
all right, is this for sale? What's going on?
My husband's face looks like let's leave, back off. This is.
You're like, I'm not done
you
yet.
don't need to be doing this. Yeah, we don't. And so I was, like, come on. My husband followed me with my kids, and so he's telling me the story of how he had the right to sell it, and it didn't add up. But he threw out. He was like, you know what? I have this one property that belongs to I think his stepdad. It's vacant on this street. So I jotted that down. That's another property I'm going to go check.
So you're building your list.
Long story short, the one across the street didn't span out. The one I'm at didn't span out. But that property that he mentioned, I was eyeing.
Wow.
So he gave me the name of his stepsister who had the right to sell it. Now on BCAD, it showed where the taxes were being sent to. So he couldn't give me the information besides the name of his sister. He didn't tell me her number. He didn't tell me how old she was. He couldn't give me anything else. He wasn't in contact with her. They were not in good terms. So that was another one that I had to just see if I can get it. So I went to the taxpayer's address. She wasn't there. I went 3 different times.
So you looked it up on BCAD. You saw that the address was in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. So you physically went to that address?
Physically went to her address. I said, kids, my oldest son, Joseph.
That's awesome.
And,
Talk about tracking them down.
And my kids are like, oh, we're going to go drive by another one. Yes, we're going to stay in the car, lock it. I'm going to go knock on the door. She didn't answer. There was no cars. There's cameras in her home, and she wasn't there. So I looked her up online, and I found her landline. She never answered. I left her a voicemail. I mailed her a letter. Never answered. Finally, I called after a month and a half, and she did answer. She said she was in the hospital.
So you just kept calling and calling and calling until somebody answered.
Once I get that first answer, then I won't call so much.
Right.
But so she finally answered. She was in the hospital for a while. I said, well, I'm looking for Mrs. Brown, who lives in Houston. Is there any way you can give me her phone number, her address? I can mail her a letter, give her my number. She was like, oh, sweetie, I'm in a wheelchair, and her number's somewhere, and I can't find it. Call me tomorrow. So I gave her a call the next day, and she tells me that she didn't remember talking to me. She didn't remember. She didn't find the number. So I try to get any information she can give me about this seller.
Yes.
First, last name, kind of the age. So I just went ahead and I used all that information, and I just
skip trace them as much as you could.
The heck I could.
Yeah.
So
and then you found her?
I found her.
Awesome.
So I had to go through this process of calling all these landlines, all these emails. Finally, after like 15 phone numbers I called, maybe 10, she answers. And well, she didn't answer, her sister answers, and she says, no, not her sister, her roommate, must have been her roommate, because she was the only one. And she says, how'd you find me? And that's the
You're
question.
Like a lot of hard work.
Okay, so from what I learned, they say, when they ask you that, just say online. Because when you say online, it kind of just leaves it at that.
That's a good piece of information. Answering generally.
Just say
so
online.
you don't go down a tangent. You can get back on topic.
I'm not stalking you.
Yeah.
You're online.
But kind of a little bit.
So I got her on the phone. Then she tells me, and I'm persistent. I'm at home. And the more passion's coming is that I'm at home. I'm at home doing this, and my kids are available. I'm available to them.
Sure.
I'm in my room doing this. This is my office. I'm gonna get this deal. So she tells people, sweetie, I'm already having to sell it. I'm selling it to a family member. I've been selling it for the past half of the year. It's already at the title company. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, do you mind if I follow up with you? Yeah, sure. So I follow up with her every month.
So you still didn't give up?
No. Because I said, well, what title company is it at? So she told me. So I tried calling the title company, but they don't give you information if you're not on the contract.
Right.
I asked her, well, when does the contract end? And she's like, well, I don't know. She didn't have any information. She just said that the title company tells her what to take, and she takes it.
Sure.
So finally, I called her every month, and then in December, I remember.
So how many months had gone by?
That was from June to December.
Wow, so 6 months of consistent follow-up.
Yes.
And you'd already done all of this tracking to get to this point.
It took me 2
but even
months
then
to
you
find
kept
her.
going.
So May, June, and a little bit of July, and then finally when we connected, then I stayed on her with every month. Oh no, I'm sorry, but she was the nicest lady. She was like, she welcomed my phone calls. So if she didn't, I probably would, maybe mail her a letter after I got her address. But so she welcomed my calls, and then finally my phone rang in December, and I remember looking at my phone like, oh, Miss Brown. I told my daughter and my little ones, shh. I went to the other room. Shh. She was like, well, if you're still interested, it's like her family member who was gonna eventually buy it decided not to. She was, I'll call you in a few days. In a few days, like, tell me now. So she says, but I'm pretty sure they're not gonna be able to buy it. So then 3 days went by and she finally connected with me. If you want to go in and go see it, it's locked up, go look at it. So I took my husband, we looked at it, and I was thinking I'm going to offer her less than I originally offered her.
So with this deal, Jeannette, you mentioned that
Persistence.
Yeah, persistence was a big part of the equation here. And there was such a long timeline that you could have just said this deal is dead or too much work so many times along the way, but you didn't. And that's an amazing point to make, especially for people out there that are considering this, or even people that are already in the business, that there might be leads out there that they're giving up on, or just in general from a business concept, that persistence is where it's at, and you just keep going until you succeed.
Yes.
And if there's a hurdle, you just jump over it. And if it's a taller hurdle, you just keep jumping over it until you get to your end goal.
Yeah, and while I was all following up with her every other month or every month, I was looking for other deals as well.
Right.
But this one this one's a good story to talk about, because once I got her to allow me to go look at the property with my husband, she kept telling me what was wrong with the property. I realized this is a time where I should let someone talk rather than me talk, because I do talk a lot. And so she kept telling me what was wrong with it. Do I really want it? Because the person she initially was going to have buy backed out because there was really too much work to do.
Sure.
So letting her talk, tell me how much it was, had a lot of, problems with it. She lives in Houston. She didn't want to deal with it. She then tells me, are you sure you want to buy it? So then that's when I realized I offered her lower.
You were like, so I'm sure.
Initially, I had offered her, I want to say 20 for the property, or 25. I'm not 100%, but I then offered her 15.
Wow. So what made you make the decision at that point? Because you revisited the numbers, or what was it?
No, I heard her just telling me what was wrong with it.
Oh, okay, so you were reading her.
I was reading her, and her telling me, are you sure? The other one backed out. They were actually offering her double, but she just didn't want to deal with this anymore. They kept her tied down for about almost a year, and she just wanted to go.
So you played to your strength, which is you're frustrated, this is taking a long time. I can solve your problem of selling this house, but I could also do it quickly. And even though these other people were giving her a higher price point,
They were.
her real concern was, let's just get this done. Speed is what I need to do. I'm tired of the headache. And that's a big thing that a lot of people have issues with, is from a seller standpoint. And it's awesome that you cued into that, you listened to it, and you use it to your advantage to get a better price point. And she just said, okay, right away, or was there like a delay, or what?
She said, let me talk about it with my children, which they're adults now, and I'll get back to you. The very next day, I sent her a contract via email, and she called me. She was like, I got it. Okay, we'll sign it, and we'll. When can we get this done? Mind you, it's December, so we have Christmas, New Year's. Things are closing,
Right.
Title companies, and so I gave her a month, but with business days, and so I got really excited when I called my husband and told him. She said yes to that much, and he's like, what? I'm like, yes, she was, and then he didn't believe me. But
You're
then,
like, I told you, of course she was going to accept the lower number.
But he never asked me how, like you're asking me,
Right.
what made you, how. I just was really listening to the
Right.
seller. And then she wanted to open the door for me when she came down from Houston to come show it to me. So I literally didn't go inside to see it for another 2 weeks until she came down. And when she was there, she kept saying something like,
This is in person?
It's in person.
Okay.
My husband met me to walk it through with her, and it was at night. It was cold. We had a flashlight, but she that was her available time to show it to me. She was actually driving back to Houston. And he tells me later to this day, he's like, when I heard her say, are you sure you want to buy this house? He's like, you should have offered her less.
He liked that idea. He's like, keep going.
You should have just offered her less. I'm like, I told you, should have accepted it. So yeah, that's what I learned. Just listen to the seller.
I want to highlight this point because I think it's a beautiful one, that you get in the real estate business and sometimes you might forget along the way, and I love that you were cognizant of it and you remembered it through this process. It's very easy in the real estate business to get very caught up in, all right, the next house, the next lead, the numbers, how much is it worth, how much are the repairs, getting the contractors out there, all right, dealing with the seller, dealing with the buyer, thinking about all the different components of it. It's very easy to forget that real estate at its very core is a people business.
Helping.
There are houses. You are selling an asset, which is the house, but ultimately you're dealing with a person. And if you can identify and listen, like you were doing, if you can listen to the person and find out what is their motivation, what is the reason that they're selling, what are the needs that they have, what are their frustrations, and be cognizant of that so you can solve those frustrations, so you can be the solution for them, then you're able to have a point of leverage, but you're also be able to construct a deal where it's very favorable for you, in this case very favorable, but also favorable for them.
Yes.
And you're doing something for the person, not the house. And I think that's a point that people tend to forget, but is very important. And if you keep that mentality and check yourself so you can continue to remember that, you're going to be able to be much more successful to get more deals, but also with the deals that you have, make them into bigger paydays.
Yes, and even if she had said no to that price, I would have. That's my role was playing. Where can we meet that we're both happy in this? If she had said no to that, I'm here. Where can we meet? Because in the end, I'm helping. My end. I'm helping her.
Right.
It's a win-win. I'm not trying to steal it from her.
Right. It's working together.
Yes.
It's a teamwork almost in a sense to come to a common goal.
Yes.
That's beautiful. So we talked about these deals that you've done, but let's talk more in general. I love your story because you didn't come from a real estate background.
None.
You basically kind of tried a little bit of everything, and you slowly honed in till you found something that truly you could be passionate about, that you could be empowered in, and you can make a difference in. There's plenty of people out there that are, want to get started, they haven't started yet, or maybe they're in the beginning stages, or maybe they're even been doing it for a while, but they're trying to improve, or they're not hitting the level of success that they would like. What are some general tips that you would give to people with just mentality and belief and how they should approach the real estate business?
Most is your why. You have to be passionate about it and your why, and you have to get out there. The hardest thing is, what I've noticed as an entrepreneur, especially working from home, is you don't have that 9 o'clock meeting everybody has every day to, hey, this is our goal, this is what we're going to do, this, get out there and go do it. You got to go back to your why and why you're doing this, and motivate yourself. You have to believe in yourself, motivate yourself, and realize, you're going to go through all the struggle, bumps in the road, but what do you really want in the end? It is possible. So what I did is I surround myself with people. I network. So it's for those people that are not so openly talkative to, meeting people at first. Just go and sit down at the Alo Maria, San Antonio Rio. There's so many other Rios networking. Just go and sit.
You'll never know who you meet.
Sit. Someone next to you is going to nudge you and say, here's
or
my business card. Yes. You'll mingle with some form or fashion, and then eventually it'll spark. They might be the person to say, you know what, come with me to meet some of these people that I know. And then you start to get more confidence and build, and you find out that we're all people person. We're all people. We want to be around others and be inspired by others. Myself, I love networking. So that came naturally. So for those of you that are natural networking, just throw yourself out there. Trust me, it'll boom. You'll skyrocket with as much people skills you have. For those that are not, just sit there and just be familiar with your atmosphere and go more than once. You'll get in the grind, and you'll feel other people's potential, and some of them will even generally give you advice that people will say, you know what, it will cost you so much to get that learned through a workshop.
Or saves you money from a mistake that you can make potentially down the road.
Oh, and yes, you need to be also aware of there's going to be some people that might not do you right, they might want to use you, but that's not always the case. So you'll learn, and then it's a small community, as we all know now.
Yeah.
And the ones who are ethically right at this, and we all have each other best interests at heart. So you'll learn to know who the good people who are willing to help and willing to network.
And I would say too that a lot of people are afraid to fail. That's a big fear, is I don't want to mess up on my first deal, or What if I write the contract wrong? Or what if I say something wrong on the phone or in person at this networking event? Or what if I just do this wrong? Or if I mess up? Or, what are they going to think about, think of me? And I always see that failure has two sides. Yes, there's the side which is the setback, but there's the other side which is the door to growth, the door to learning. If you utilize each setback as an opportunity to reflect and say, how did this go wrong and how can I improve next time, you will become more, you'll have more skills in your skill set. And the other thing too is a failure or a setback can also be a motivation. Like with you, you mentioned, your house got broken into. That was a major setback, but it was also a motivating force for you to move forward. So don't be afraid of failure. Push through it. Be persistent, like Jeannette. Have Jeannette persistence. That's like its own level. But really push through, and you will eventually, this is a common phrase, you will fail your way to success. You just keep pushing forward and not give up and believe that you can accomplish your ultimate goal, then you ultimately will. And just keep pushing forward and having that persistence.
And also, if you think about it, if you're going to be working for the corporate world, and yeah, they'll train you, but you're going to end up feeling that ignorance, like, who do I ask? Should I even bother them in the office to say, show me what I'm doing? Am I doing it right or wrong? I mean, you're going to feel that regardless. So even on your own terms, just ask. It's you asking, you're going to bump into the right person who's going to end up telling you, you know what, I've been there. This is an entrepreneurship type deal. You're not given, a booklet of this is the training. This is a training course. This is what you have to do. And even if you do get that through a seminar or workshop, you're still going to need to learn hands-on. You're going to bump into some few hiccups, but
so
people to ask.
Talking about people being persistent and trying to hit their ultimate goals. You're a very driven individual. What are some goals that you have personally to achieve yourself?
So currently I'm pretty much like a one-man shop. Me and my husband, we hunt for deals, and then he'll go with me to do the contracting bid, construction bid, and then I gather up all the information and I do it all myself. What I really want to do is grow it. I don't know if I really want to get really big, but I do know that I want to get more leverage time. So I want to hire someone to help me, hunt for deals, do some paperwork so that I can manage other things, and just, this is my business and this is what I want to stick with, and I'm going to grow it. And being, what some people say, your own CEO or your own president, I'm going to be the boss of this business that I have, and just grow with other people helping me with leveraging my time.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful concept in itself. It's the next evolution, which is, hey, I have the knowledge now, I have the capability now, I'm doing all these deals now. How can I leverage to not only be able to do more deals, but also be able to free up more time so you can spend more time with your family. But also by getting people involved in that process, you're helping them, helping the next generation in a sense, in what they're working on and impacting the community in that way. That's a beautiful thing. Okay, so Jeannette, how can people reach out to you? Where can you be found? What's some good contact information?
Well, my best form of contact is cell, or if you want to contact me by email, which is investing, the number 4, the numerical 4, and sale, SALE @gmail.
Perfect.
And my phone number would be 210-564-7289.
So that's another thing that I really loved about you and working with you personally is that, I can call into you directly. We can have a conversation, whether it's about a particular deal that you're selling or whatever, or if we just want to talk and bounce ideas off one another, like, hey, this is something I'm working on, this is something you're working on, or a challenge that we have, those type of things. I also want to talk about one more thing, which is, with you, what are some of the challenges that you're facing now that you're trying to overcome?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of challenges. Being home-based is just, yes, you don't have to wake up and be there at 8 o'clock, but when I am up, my kids are at school, and I'm looking around the house and I have chores to do. I have to focus and be disciplined on this is real estate hour, and okay, got to do all these follow-ups. It's just disciplining yourself with the business core of it. That's my biggest challenge. But then again, I sit back and say, why am I complaining? I love it. I get to turn on a cartoon movie for my 4-year-old who's home with me while I'm doing this. Or I say, hey, let's get your shoes on, brush your teeth, we're going to go see a house. So not complaining, but just having to schedule everything, and then realizing I don't have a team yet, but I'm going to have to just get out there and just feel like, yeah, it is a small business for me, but it's my why, it's a bigger purpose, and I love what I'm doing. So go out there and I go to the Ala Maria, I network, I connect with you.
So moving forward, what are some of the relationships that you're building and cultivating to help grow your business that you are moving forward in at this point?
I'm meeting others just like me. So if they ever need any help in selling any of their properties, as I might have, I've helped others. And I've met some great people along the way. I've had other people ask me to join forces with them, to join their company and to work with them. And it's really intriguing. I even tell my honor the fact that you're asking me. But I'm really focused on, I wanted to make it a small business family for me, my husband, and my children are involved. I mean, if I joined with them, maybe I might not be able to take the kids around, I have to be on their quota. But just the people that I've networked with so far, I've met a few that I can work with, and it's kind of like a self-contract, like a subcontracting with them.
At this point, now that your real estate business is pretty mature and you've done quite a number of deals, what are you working on now, and who are the type of people that you're trying to connect with?
I'm looking for a private money investor who's willing to join forces with me, so that if I find a really good deal that I know that I can wholesale it to someone who's going to use it for owner finance, I'd really love to try that myself. I like to take it on myself and use that investor to get a return on their investment anywhere from, and we can discuss that later, but it's a good return on their investment, more than they would get at a bank. And he could be the first note lien holder on the home, and I can go more into depth of that. But if anyone out there is willing to join forces with me, be a private money lender, that's what I'm looking into.
Well, you have a really powerful piece in the sense that, there's a lot of people out there that might have money that's idle or not getting the return that they're looking for, or might not have the time or energy to do a real estate deal. I mean, you're already wholesaling these deals at great price points to the end buyer. Mm-hmm. You're able to get them significantly under that for your wholesale fee, so you're getting deals at great price points. Your husband has the experience on the construction side. You have the ability to do full remodels on the houses, anything and everything. And you already know what the end numbers need to be, and you have all the connections and everything else. So yeah, it sounds like it's a pretty wonderful way for someone to work with you to do some great deals and get some great returns. That's a win-win for both of y'all.
Yes, definitely. So if they're interested, and they can give me a call, they can email me, and then I could show them the deals that I get. Instead of wholesaling them directly to my buyers list, we can collaborate, and then I can show them how I can give them
this one's a good one. We'll keep it over here.
Yes, we'll keep it.
All right, no, I understand that. So they can contact you by phone, they can contact you by email, and you're really quick at answering on those.
Yeah.
And what I love about with you is your contact information goes directly to you.
Yes.
So you answer every single message and email directly, which is great. And so we've talked about your real estate business, we've talked about your goals, we've talked about a little bit of your personality and even your story. Are there some parting words, any last bit of advice that you would give to some people, people that are wanting to get started, people that may already be in the business, just in general? Are there any ideas or thoughts you can give?
Yes, most with female entrepreneurs, I know that in my case, I feel like I dealt with two different levels in my life. One, I did get my education. I succeeded in that, but it doesn't mean, getting into real estate, you have to be, really educated in something, because for a while after school, I was a stay-at-home mom. I felt in some aspect that I didn't even have a degree because the economy had crashed. It was me starting over first. So anybody that doesn't think that they can do it, it really is. It's possible. You got to really self-educate yourself and push yourself to take action. Action speaks a lot rather than brainstorming. and I mean, and another thing is, there is going to be a lot of hiccups. If I could tell you all the hiccups I got along the way, I can't even fit them in. But to the point where I tried to collaborate with someone new, found out that, they undermined me. Someone went behind my back and went straight to the seller. Just so so many, or my husband thinking it wasn't too safe for me to be going out there,
Right.
especially with the kids. So, I mean, I honor what he tells me. I don't want to upset him, but I do know why I'm doing it. I'm doing this so that we get out of the funk. We're out of the rat race. I don't leave my kids at home. I don't have to, my mom, she's elderly, can you watch my children while I go clock in? So I had to just, shake that all off, get my husband to have confidence in me and believe in me. Sometimes, I had to not tell him that I went to a private property, a property that I had to give him an offer, but eventually he got out of his comfort zone and he's comfortable and he sees, it's working for us all. And the next challenge I do have, a big hiccup is, since I am home-based for now, you just got to push yourself. You got to be your own entrepreneur. You just got to push yourself with that drive to get out there, and don't get comfortable with the fact that, you have your bills paid for the next month. Or
Don't close the deal, get a good check, and then take a break.
Keep it going. Keep it going. So
I love it. I think you have an amazing story. I think you have the wonderful skill sets that allowed you to succeed, and even the skills that you didn't have, you compensated or you went and acquired them to make sure that you accomplish what you want to accomplish. I think the big component is the belief component. A lot of people, they have that doubt, they have that fear, and they don't know whether or not they can make it happen. If you just ultimately believe, because that's ultimately what it was for you, you believe that you could do it.
Because my husband, he's my big supporter and everything, but he's also my best friend, where he's like watching, maybe you shouldn't do this. So he could have slowed me down, but he's also inspiring me, because I'm like, I'm gonna prove this. This is for us. Don't worry so much.
Right.
And it's gonna work out.
It always works out in the end. If you do your part and continue going, right? Definitely. Well, thank you for watching. Again, this is Jeannette. She's a wonderful story and has some great information. Reach out to her. She'll be glad to help in any way. And you can make sure to like this video and subscribe and look for more information from Jeannette.
Thank you.
Thank you.